Let's be honest, a lot of people don't like tofu. It does have a strange texture, and depending on how it's cooked, it can leave you wanting for some more flavor.
Definitely don't eat this without any seasoning.
But on those days that you feel like eating something lighter than meat, but still packed with protein, tofu, when cooked properly, can be really nutritious and delicious. Today I'm going to show you 3 different ways to cook tofu.
I think people nowadays are trying to eat more vegetables and lessen their meat intake for both health and environmental purposes. And I do agree that we should be eating more vegetables. And with something like tofu, even though it is made primarily of soybeans, we still consider it quote unquote a protein, just like what we would consider chicken or meat or pork, for example. So even though it kind of is a vegetable, we do feel like we can use it more as a protein, and that's what we're gonna do with the dishes today. It's kind of like you could take the tofu and replace it completely with any kind of animal protein, and the dish would still pretty much work.
So what is it exactly? It's basically soy milk that has been pressed into solid shapes, the same way some cheese is basically made. The soy milk is held together usually by nigari, which is like a natural coagulant that comes from the sea. It's a food source that a lot of vegans and vegetarians enjoy because it has good amounts of protein and micronutrients. If you look at these numbers right here to the right, you'll see that for 100 grams of tofu, you're basically eating 70 calories. Aside from that, it is packed with other vitamins and a good macronutrient spread. So basically you're getting a low-calorie food with lots of nutrients. Perfect, right? Well, there's also a camp that says it's not healthy because it's made mostly from genetically modified soybeans nowadays. There has yet to be conclusive research, though, about GMOs in our health, so I'll just stop the information overdrive there and leave this here for you to make your own choices. This dish uses silken tofu, not to be confused with soft tofu. This one will not hold up well in most dishes and needs to be handled very delicately. I like it in salads, nice and cold, paired with a really good dressing and some flavorful elements. It really does come together nicely. You're gonna need an avocado, some silken tofu, chives, ginger, soy sauce, chili oil, sesame oil, black vinegar, and some crunchy shallots. Grab an avocado and just slice it evenly. Do the same thing with the tofu, try to get the sizing more or less the same. For our dressing, grate 1 teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of black vinegar, 1 teaspoon of water, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. You can add in some sugar here as well if you want to, or other flavor profiles like apple cider vinegar or some yuzu or some citrus even. You can really mix up these sauces to really create something that's more to your liking. Chop up your chives, plate everything together by layering your avocado and tofu and trying to keep it all together. Top it with your dressing, chives, sesame oil, chili oil, and crunchy shallots. Texture is a big thing when it comes to tofu. If you want to have a nice crunchy bite without having to resort to deep frying, you're going to need to make sure that you're using firm to extra firm tofu, and before using it, more importantly, make sure to press it in between paper towels using some kind of weight like a pot for about 30 minutes to an hour. By removing that excess moisture, you'll ensure a crisp skin. Here, I'm going to work these into a soba noodle stir-fry dish. You're going to need some corn flour, honey, peanut butter, soy sauce, spring onions, garlic, ginger, a cayenne chili, some soba noodles, and bok choy. Start by slicing up your scallions, mincing your ginger and garlic, and breaking up your bok choy. For our stir-frying sauce, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 teaspoons of honey, and a 1/3 cup of water. Take your firm and dried tofu, cut it into small bites, and dredge completely with corn flour, making sure to shake off any excess. Cook the soba noodles in boiling water for about 3 minutes. Plunge them directly in an ice bath or rinse under cold water. This will keep them from bunching up or overcooking. Get a pan hot on medium heat, add in some peanut oil. Fry for a couple of minutes on each side until golden and puffy. When ready, take them out in the pan and saute your red chilies, ginger, scallions, and garlic for about 3 minutes. Before adding your bok choy for about 2 minutes, and then finally back in with your tofu. Mix all this together and quickly toss in the sauce. This should thicken with the cornstarch that was left in the pan and on the tofu and with the heat. You can toss your soba noodles back in here if you want to warm them up, but I actually like the contrast of colder noodles with hot toppings.
This has got to be one of my favorite ways to make tofu, simply because you don't really need to marinate it to build the flavor, because you're getting all that really great texture from the cornstarch and the frying, and then that sauce is enough flavor to kind of just put everything together. And that with soba noodles is absolutely perfect. Let's destroy the dish. You can do this without the peanut butter if you're allergic to peanuts. It just removes a little bit of the creaminess, but that's what the cornstarch is there for, is to really thicken that sauce. But the tofu is really the star here.
One of the most famous tofu-forward dishes is Mapo Tofu. The best ones I've had are usually swimming in oil and topped with tons of chilies. But since we're trying to be healthy here, we are going to go light on the oil and remove the meat completely. So it's a completely different dish, but inspired by the flavors of Mapo. For this, we will need some dried chilies. I'm using a poblano here, coriander, soy sauce, sesame oil, corn flour, chicken broth, Szechuan peppercorns, shiitake mushrooms, fresh chili. I'm using a jalapeno, ginger, spring onions, garlic, and laogan, which is a black bean chili oil that is absolutely delicious. Pound out your Szechuan peppercorns until fine. Chop up your dried chilies, chop your mushrooms, grate the ginger, chop your garlic, and slice the spring onions. For our tofu, we're going to be using hard tofu, but you can also use medium tofu here. It'll just break up a little bit more. Get 1 tablespoon of peanut oil hot in a wide skillet or wok. Fry off your mushrooms until they've colored slightly. Set them aside. In the same pan, toast your chilies and peppercorn for a minute until fragrant, then add your garlic, ginger, and spring onions. Fry this off for about 5 minutes before adding 1 tablespoon of laogan and squashing it with the veg, really breaking up those black beans. This is going to give such flavor and seasoning to the whole dish. Add in 2 teaspoons of soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing wine. This is completely optional. I just really like the umami flavor that it brings. Let that evaporate a little bit for a minute before adding 1/2 cup of chicken stock. Now this is going to simmer for about 5 minutes before you add your mushrooms and tofu. Simmer this gently for about 15 minutes until the liquid has halved in volume. 5 minutes before taking it off, mix in 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, which was mixed with 1 tablespoon of water to just help thicken the sauce more. Add your fresh chilies, plate, and garnish with coriander.
As I said, I took a lot of liberties with this dish. It's not Mapo Tofu, it's really just something that's inspired by it. Let's give it a try. That black bean chili sauce, oh yeah, has a nice kick to it. And because of the mushrooms, you don't really miss
the meatiness of the dish, and you still kind of have that sheen of oil, not from the meat, but from the sauces, the sesame oil that we put in, which is something that you'd expect for this kind of dish. So I really hope you guys enjoyed those 3 recipes. We should definitely try to eat more vegetables. This doesn't have much vegetables. Obviously it's just soy, but the ones previously we did put a lot of veg in there. That's quite nice. But yeah, if you're looking for something a bit lighter and you don't want to eat as much meat, try out these recipes and let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed them. Peace out.